5, 4, 3, 2, 1. We are live. Coming to you live, Lichtman Live. Tonight is our special 2025 membership drive. Heck
wow.
Yeah. Say what's up to the people, Dad.
Memberships are vital to keeping us going. You know, look at CBS and 60 Minutes. They had a host of staffers just assigned to looking at that one story about the El Salvador prison, which the director at the last minute pulled. You know, we operate on a very low budget, very thin margins, and memberships are our lifeblood. Sam, it costs less per month to be a member than it costs for a milkshake, right?
Wow. That's
and
pretty
it's
amazing.
way healthier than a milkshake.
True. I see some of our members online right now. Limited Light, Jim Blowers, Lori Robinson, Suzanne AP, Abe. Thank you all who are already members. We appreciate each and every one of you. But tonight we're trying to get more members. So if you've been watching for a while, if you've been thinking about becoming a member, tonight's the night, because tonight is the membership drive. We will keep you updated on the numbers. So far, we have 0 new members.
What? 0? That's
0.
not good.
But we're hoping, and this stream, you know, it'll be a little bit more laid back, a little bit longer. Nikki says, I became a member today. Thank you, Nikki.
Thank you.
And
You expect me to be laid back?
if you become a member today, you will get a shout out and you can instantly get your question answered. No, wait till the second half of the show. None of that. Right on the money. Anthony R. Mod says it's even cheaper than a McDonald's milkshake.
Wow.
Holy
And
moly.
those are phony. They're not real milky milkshakes, are they?
Milky milkshakes.
Yeah, there's some kind of mix.
Oh, okay. Some kind of mix. But we are going to chat and talk about what's happening because, man, there's a lot happening just with the Epstein files. Now, it's kind of even for me, and I try to, follow this pretty closely and try to summarize it for you guys what's happening. It's been hard for me to even follow exactly what's happening with the Epstein files. But this is just updates in the last 12 hours with the Epstein files. So 12 hours ago, DOJ says that files contain, quote, untrue and sensationalist claims about Trump. But then we also get an update that says Trump was on Epstein's jet many more times than previously reported. A limo driver details. Oh, we just got a new member, Mama Brooke. Thank you, Mama, for becoming a member. Over here's Trump phone calls abusing some girls. A postcard allegedly from Epstein to Larry Nassar.
Which they said was fake.
Which, again, they said it was fake. Let's see, what other updates?
All these
do we have?
redactions, as you can see.
Many they can't see this.
can't
Many
see.
redactions. Photo of Trump and Maxwell found on Bannon's phone. Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick mentioned in the files. Files document possible early suicide attempt from Epstein. Brother in the Epstein files says Epstein was killed because he was going to name names. Images of Epstein's fake passport. And then, so contradictory, there's also files that show that the prison psychiatry deemed Epstein at low risk for a suicide. So in the files, there's documents that possibly hint to earlier suicide attempt by Epstein, and also files that show that the psychiatry department in the prison filed him as low risk.
And it's still not proven, is it, Sam, definitively that he committed suicide? There are still questions.
Well, there's a lot more questions now. There was a video that was released.
And it had a gap.
No.
There's a fake video.
There was a video that was released, part of the files that ended up being a fake video. I mean, like, I honestly, at this point, I don't know if the Department of Justice could have handled this worse.
If they had sort of scoured the world to figure out how to completely mess up what was not a voluntary disclosure, Sam, right?
Right.
It was compelled by an act of Congress. And if they had searched the world to find advice on how to mess this up, they couldn't have done it.
Right. So
more
even before these
perfectly.
updates from the last 12 hours, we've seen the first release on Friday night being very small, and then they've released documents, they've taken documents back, and then they've re-released them, and they've sort of slow-rolled the release. I mean, they're obviously trying to defend Trump, saying that the stuff that implicates him in the files are all untrue, and they've released files on him and taken them back and then released them again. They're saying that all the redactions are for the survivors, but there's been survivors named in the files that they released. The survivors are saying that this handling is a slap in the face. I almost think it would have been worse if they would have done nothing.
Yeah. I mean, who's praised this? Even their own loyalists have been pretty quiet about it when you think they would be singing to the hills the praises of the Trump magnificent Justice Department and what they've done to be the most transparent administration in history. But don't take all word for it, Sam.
You always say that.
Here's what Helene Weiss, who represents some of the Epstein survivors, said publicly on CNN. Quite frankly, a complete mess.
Yikes.
They failed to do their jobs.
No doubt.
That is a direct quote of a lawyer for some of the survivors. What have the survivors complained about? You mentioned it. On the one hand, they've redacted all kinds of information that there's no basis for redacting it. For example, there was this memo from, I think, an assistant U.S. attorney in 2020 saying Trump flew on Epstein's planes far more than we had previously known. Pretty damning stuff. And the memo said at least, he flew 8 times.
Excuse me.
He flew several times with Maxwell. He flew with a 20-year-old woman, and he flew with women who were part of the investigation of Epstein. Of course, their names were redacted. Pretty damning stuff, right, Sam?
Yeah, and of course, they're all playing defense for him now, saying,
Right.
oh, everything that's about Trump is untrue and salacious. And
Yeah, I'll get to that in a moment. But
I
the
wanna
point
get-
I want to make,
Okay, go ahead.
they redacted the name of the guy who wrote the memo. Now, why in the world would they need to protect him? Absolutely no reason
Yeah, they're fucking up so bad.
why he should have been redacted. In fact, in the interest of transparency, I assume it was a him. Most of the U.S. attorneys were, but assistants, but it may have been a her, but it seemed like a him. Either way, why redact the name? That person is not a victim, right? It's a
Right.
government official. And you include the name, he can be interviewed, right? And
Right.
provide more information and more context. The only reason to redact the name is that they had something to hide and did not want anyone to talk to this person and learn more about what went on in those flights between Epstein and Trump. But you make a very important point, Sam.
Me?
Yes, you, Samuel Allen Lichtman,
Oh.
that they include this disclaimer that the things about Trump are untrue, right?
Right.
Did they protect anyone else by saying that?
I don't think a single other person they've used that rhetoric for.
Not a single other person is protected with anything close to that kind of rhetoric. Moreover, they only cited one of the many mentions of Trump in the release as false. Just one. And that was the supposed letter from Jeffrey Epstein.
Hello.
Jeffrey Epstein to convicted sex offender Larry Nassar. They didn't say the memo from the U.S. attorney was fake, right? They didn't say that was false. They didn't say information suggesting there were 10 co-conspirators, including 3 in Florida, was false. They didn't claim any of the photos of Trump with Maxwell and other women were doctored or false. Yet they make this blanket passive voice statement, which would have you believe that every mention of Trump is false.
Crazy.
And yet of all the many mentions, dozens, the only one that they claimed was false was the letter from Epstein to Nasser from prison. What could be more telling about how political this release was? They managed to, achieve the daily double. On the one hand, they completely messed up the release to provide us information.
Right.
They dribbled it out. They brought it down.
Which
they
a lot of
back.
Which a lot of congressmen are saying is illegal.
Illegal. They broke the law.
They broke the
law. It wasn't dribble it out. It was do it by the 30th.
Right.
Of
19th.
19th of December.
Yeah.
30 days. All right. So they didn't provide any context. They didn't provide any information. The survivors are screaming that this really doesn't provide any information about their story. And yet at the same time, they managed to politicize it, right? By having the first release, which everyone's going to focus on. Who was that all about?
Bill Clinton.
Right. It was only the stuff on Trump came out later.
Talking to the mic, please.
In a second release. So they both managed to obfuscate tremendous amount of useful information.
I want to give some shout. We're getting a lot of members. I want to give some shout outs to some members. Shout out to Thomas Jordan for becoming a member. Shout out to George Politis for your donation. Carly McIsaac, thank you for becoming a member. Loves Antique, Nick Veliari. Let's see. I think I saw more. Annie's Kid. J.M. Vandy. Thank you all for becoming a member. We have 7 new members already. That's really good. Let's try to get, what time is it? Within the next 15 minutes, let's try to get 7 more members. If you're listening and you're not a member, today is the day to become a member. Less than a milkshake, do it today.
And healthier than a milkshake.
What were you saying, Dad?
I was saying they managed to achieve the daily double, in effect. Not providing anywhere near the amount of useful information they should have been providing under the law, missing the deadline under the law, and yet at the same time completely politicizing it. Focusing on Bill Clinton on the first release, which is going to be, the most publicized, and then essentially in this, blanket statement exonerating Donald Trump, even though only one, they focused on only one of the many, many mentions or images of Trump in the releases.
Have they refuted the whole Trump appearing on Epstein's jet more than we thought?
They have not touched that.
I thought they made a blanket statement about Trump that was saying like much of the stuff about Trump is false.
I don't think they even said much.
They said everything.
Said the stuff about Trump is false.
That's crazy.
I think they, let's see if we can find the exact quote.
I don't know who can at this point trust anything that's coming out at this point. I mean, it's such a shit show, and again, I'm sort of getting lost between the mixture of false information about the files that are coming out online, sensationalized headlines about the files, real stuff that's coming out about the files. I'm sort of getting lost in the sauce, and I can't even quite focus on what's real. But there are some things that are really released by the Justice Department, including the Larry Nassar letter, including the mention that Trump was on his jet more than we thought. But still, I'm starting to get... I don't know if people in the chat agree, but I'm starting to get lost a little bit.
Well, let's put some more context to this.
Okay.
When has this administration been transparent and been committed to telling you the truth? This is the administration, and it's just one of hundreds of examples, but it's so glaring. We've reduced drug prices by 500 to 600%.
No, now he's saying 1,000%. I saw him recently.
Now he's saying so for your $100 drug, they're going to pay you $1,000 for using that drug. I bring this up just because it is so absurd.
Right.
You don't need a fact checker to figure it out. But virtually everything they say is fabricated. Trump says he has the greatest approval ratings ever. Well, the latest poll had him down in the mid 30% range, the lowest of any president at this point in their presidency. He said we're rapidly bringing prices down. Well, prices have risen every month during the Trump administration. I can go on and on and on. So why should this be any different?
True. I mean, I think for most people who have followed Trump objectively, they know that for 10 years now he's been full of shit and you can never trust a word that comes out of his mouth. But I think maybe now, whatever reason, again, this is, like you said, it's the Freddy Krueger. This is the topic or the issue that seems to be resonating the most with people. And I mean, that's kind of crazy to me. Even after January 6th, even after all his shenanigans with the 2020 election, it seems like this is the issue that is really making people say, wait a second, maybe Trump's full of SHIT. But hey,
the
better late than
overwhelming
never.
majority of Americans, including a very hefty substantial of Republicans, are convinced that Trump has something to hide in the Epstein matter. And a very substantial number think he's committed a crime along with Epstein. This is what the DOJ said. Some of the latest documents contain untrue and sensationalist claim made against President Trump that was submitted to the FBI right before the 2020 election. The claims are unfounded and false, and if they had a shred of credibility, they certainly would have been weaponized against Donald Trump already.
Yeah.
Just a blanket, passive voice.
That's crazy.
You know, that could apply to anything. But I repeat, when it came to any specifics, the only document or photo that they claimed was false was the Epstein letter to NASA, which occurred long before the 2020 election. It was not right before that. It was 2019.
And it seems like that letter just seems like a very strange thing to fake. I don't know. I
think
strange.
It's a very strange thing. And why would someone fake it?
Yeah, I mean, you know,
I suppose
there could be reasons, but I'm just saying, generally speaking, it just feels like a strange, of all the things that someone could forge, like a letter from Epstein to Larry Nassar. I don't know. It just feels so far-fetched.
You know, prison documentation on it. They said it was from the wrong prison and didn't have his number. But how did they get that prison documentation on it? You know, those annotations. And the fact that it came 3 days after his suicide means nothing, because letters are held up in prison. They easily could have been held up a day or two, then another day or two, you know, for it to get posted.
Jules are forever with a $5 donation. They say, I appreciate this broadcast. Thank you, Mr. Lichtman and Sam. Thank you. They also said they think that, you know, it's by design that we're all confused. And
absolutely.
There's a lot to that.
Yeah. And the fact that, you know, they're dribbling it out, putting it up, taking it down, putting it up, you know, releasing it right before Christmas.
Right. We just hit our 8th member of the stream.
Nice.
Catherine Cocozelli. Thank you, Catherine. One of our new members, Annie Kid, says, what does Lichtman think about the new Kennedy Center name?
It's a travesty.
Yeah.
You know, I worked with Ted Kennedy. I was a great admirer of his. I actually saw John Kennedy in 1960 when he was campaigning in New York. And, you know, all the stories about his charisma were not exaggerated. He just blew us away. And this was a tough New York audience. It's an absolute trap. What has Trump done to deserve having his name put up there?
Nothing.
Nothing.
I think one of the Kennedys said it the best. Like, what's he going to put his name on the Lincoln Memorial now? Like,
he wants to.
The Kennedy Center is a memorial to JFK.
Right. Trump, believe it or not, is still alive. You don't have a memorial to living person. Plus, the Kennedy Center was established by an act of Congress. He's now being sued on the grounds that he can't change the name without another act of Congress. You know, one thing that I saw, a couple of things that really amazed me, and maybe, you know, these stories about the backlash against Trump have some credibility. Samuel Alito, you know who he is, Sam?
I thought you were about to say me. Yes, Supreme Court Justice.
And where does he stand on the spectrum?
Far right.
Far right, along with Clarence Thomas, the most far right and pro-Trump justice. Well, he recently came out in a speech, not a decision, where he said Trump may be pushing the limits of presidential power too far. This is Alito, who may be the most conservative, He and Clarence Thomas would vie for it. Even though it hasn't been reflected in any of his decisions, for him to say that kind of thing. Plus, I think it either came out today or yesterday. Did you read about the decision on the deployment of National Guard troops to Chicago?
Tell us.
By 6-3, the Supreme Court ruled that the lower court ruling prohibiting the Trump administration from deploying National Guard troops to Chicago holds, at least for now. They didn't use, like they have so many times, the so-called rocket docket, quick appeal to the court to overturn or even lift a stay on the lower court decision. A very rare ruling directly challenging Donald Trump's assertion of unlimited presidential power. So there are some signs that things are cracking. Plus, we've heard almost nothing from the MAGA world about these releases, right? You would have thought, they'd come out and say, this all exonerates Trump. We've told you all along this was a Democratic hoax. It was Bill Clinton. Haven't heard any of that, virtually. Plus, at the Turning Point Convention, the late Charlie Kirk's convention, there was a big split among the MAGA movement. And something like 10 staffers, maybe more, at the flagship conservative think tank. You know what that is, Sam?
Heritage.
The Heritage. They left. They quit because they thought the leadership of the Heritage Foundation was too inclined to whitewash anti-Semitism. So there are some real signs of cracks within the MAGA movement. As I said, even a hefty plurality of Republicans think Donald Trump has something to hide in the Epstein files. And we haven't heard conservatives crowing that these files exonerate Trump, have we?
No.
They've been remarkably silent. The criticism has come from the survivors who are livid about this and from Democrats and liberals and a few Republicans like Representative Massey and Representative Green who, had already begun to break from Trump.
We have over 700 people watching, only 200 likes. Don't forget to like the stream. If you can't become a member, you can always just subscribe if you're new here. I want to read this from Thomas Jordan, one of our new members tonight. They say, it's reported that there are Bureau of Prison contemporary emails that discussed a letter returned after Epstein's death that corroborate the Epstein-Nasser letter.
Wow. That would be incredible. But what are the chances Pam Bondi is going to release that?
0.
Very slim. But yeah, you made the point, and I agree with you. This was not an easy thing to forge. How do you forge the, prison identification on the envelope?
Yeah, and it's not even that it's just a difficult thing to forge. It's just something like, why would someone forge this exactly?
And how would they forge it?
And
who would do it, and how would they do it?
It doesn't make a lot of sense.
And why do it?
This is from one of our members, Limited Light. They say, Alito, quote, I didn't vote for him to have enough power to eradicate the Supreme Court of the United States.
Astonishing coming from Alito, as I said. Arguably the most conservative justice, saying Donald Trump is pushing the limits of presidential power too far.
Yeah. I thought conservatives were supposed to want to curb the power of the federal government vis-a-vis curb the power of the president.
This is what my book is all about, right,
Oh,
Sam?
the book.
Conservative at the core, showing that things like limited government, fiscal responsibility, free market, states' rights are just dispensable ideas put out for public consumption, and Republicans and conservatives routinely trash every one of them. And by the way,
BT Dubs.
This book has touched a real nerve on the right.
Wow.
They have responded hysterically to it.
Snowflakes.
And it's really hurt them when they do that. The usual ad hominem attacks on me. They are unable to defend substantively that Republicans actually support these so-called privileges. They have no historical analysis to respond, but they're hysterical about this. It can't be right. You know, it's produced by this deranged liberal Lichtman, you know. All ad hominem, all meaningless, but hysterical. So this book has really touched a nerve.
Oh my!
If you haven't gotten it, please do.
Sheriff Trump. I think that's their full name. Let me double check.
A relation?
I don't know, but they just gifted 50 memberships.
Wow.
Holy moly.
That's a record, isn't it?
That's a record. I don't think, yeah, Sheriff Trump, 1999, just gifted 50 memberships. That is the biggest gifted membership donation we've ever received on this channel.
I think by a long shot. I think we received 25.
You can see all these people getting memberships. So
that's just great.
Thank you so much to Sheriff Truman, 1999.
Oh, not Trump.
It's not Sheriff
Okay.
Trump. Let me get that right. Sheriff Truman, 1999.
Maybe the great-granddaughter of Harry Truman.
Just gifted 50 memberships, the largest. Yes, Truman. My apologies. Sheriff Truman.
That's a very important distinction.
That is a very important
The Truman
distinction.
family and the Trump family are very different.
Right. Wow. Thank you so much for that donation. I see a lot of our returning viewers getting memberships right now. So
That's just awesome.
shout out to everybody getting a membership. Thank you to Sheriff Truman, 1999. Wow, that's awesome. Thank you for your generosity. Wow. Wow is right, Susan. That's insane, says Studio LB. Thank you so much. Massive gift dump. Very nice, says Jabber Mockery. Thank you, Sheriff, no doubt. What a generous thing to do. Shout out to Sheriff Truman, 1999. W's in the chat for Sheriff Truman. Thank you to Sheriff Truman. All right, we're at 58 new members. Wow.
Wow.
Studio LB says this is the best show ever. I don't know if he's saying this specific one or generally.
Generally our show. Let me make another point here.
Okay, go ahead.
We don't know whether Trump was actually involved in any criminal activity. And we have to presume he's innocent, and he hasn't, till better proof has come out. But all this information shows that Trump has been blatantly lying to the American people. He claimed he really didn't have a relationship with Epstein, right? That Epstein was just one of those people in Palm Beach who everybody knew. Well, this blows that entirely out of the water.
Right.
He wasn't just randomly running into Epstein in Palm Beach. He flew on the damn plane at least 8 times. But let's look at broader context, things that aren't in here that help us understand. In 2002, he said, you know, Epstein's a great guy. Like me, he likes beautiful women, and he likes them young. This is right on the record. This isn't something that had to be released. 2003, he sent Epstein this birthday card of the outline of naked women talking about the secrets that we share, signed by him. He claims, oh, no, I didn't do that. It's a forgery. Why would anyone in 2003...
Funny that all of these Trump-related things are forgeries.
Right?
All, the letter to Nasser, the birthday, they're all forgeries.
Well, we
Very
know the
interesting.
letter, the birthday is not. Who would forge something 12 years before Trump became a political candidate? There'd be absolutely no reason anyone would forge such a thing. Plus, his signature is right there. I have a personal letter from him, and the signature is no different. You know, not only would there be no reason for anyone to forge this 12 years before he became a candidate, he was still a private citizen, but a master forger would have done this, which just staggers the imagination. So you put all this context together, and also Epstein saying, of course, Trump knew about the girls. Pictures of Trump with girls. We don't know who they were. They're redacted. Number one, Trump has been grossly lying to us when he said he really didn't have a relationship with Epstein. He was
Right.
just someone everyone knew in Palm Beach. And two, that he had no idea of what Epstein was doing. It's not just one piece of evidence, not just two. It's a whole host of evidence, which shows he knew exactly what Epstein
Yeah.
was doing. Whether he was involved in it or not is another matter.
Right.
But this is the President of the United States. And it matters that he's lying to us
Well, of course.
about his
yeah.
knowledge of one of the most heinous crimes of our time.
Jim Blowers with a $10 donation. They say, how do the Epstein files compare with the Nixon tapes?
No comparison.
What do you mean?
The Nixon tapes were actual recordings of persons in the Oval Office. So they had context and they were unimpeachable. We knew exactly what everyone was saying to Nixon and what Nixon was saying. And we knew the context. And they were released in their entirety, not dripped and drabbed like we've seen here. No
Right.
comparison, except we had the 18-minute gap on one of the Nixon tapes, supposedly an error from Rosemary Woods, the transcriber, but who knows. But at any rate, the Nixon tapes are totally different than this and included way more reliable information, not just about Watergate, but by all kinds of things that Nixon was doing, such as his illegal bombing of Cambodia.
Another shout out to Sheriff Truman 1999. They donated $50 and said, "Merry Christmas, everyone. Big fan of the show."
Yes, Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, Happy New Year, Happy Holidays to everyone.
So we won't be live on Thursday because it's Christmas Day. So that's why we're going to go extra long tonight because it's our drive and because we won't do a show on Christmas. But we will, before New Year's, we will have a year in review. We usually do top 10 moments of the year that will make history, that will go down in history. Plus, we'll review your predictions that you made last year.
Mine?
Yeah, you made predictions last year. You
I
don't
sure
remember?
did.
And
Not
then
that I remember all of them.
well, that's why we got them on video. You know.
Oh, yeah. I don't deny, like Donald Trump, what I said that's on video.
Right. And then after the new year, you'll make some new predictions for
Always.
2026. I remember when we looked over them, like within the first month, a bunch of your predictions had already come true.
I think that's right. So if we're going to go long, I need my soda.
Oh, yes, of course, sir. Right away, sir. Let me double check to see what we're still at 58 memberships. Thank you to Sheriff Truman for that generous donation, but we haven't had a new membership since then.
That's right.
So
Since the 50.
If you've been thinking about it all year, now is the time to do so. A little Christmas gift to us.
Plus,
Hanukkah. It's the year of giving.
Kwanzaa, whatever you celebrate.
And in this modern era, we're seeing a massive corporate conglomeration of media. We're seeing with the CBS News 60 Minutes Barry Weiss controversy, we're seeing media being taken over by Trump loyalists like Barry Weiss, who we haven't talked about that yet, but they just cut an entire segment on reporting on Sikot, the prison in El Salvador that they've been sending a lot of folks to. And for a nonsensical reason, she said, because there wasn't comment from the other side. And of course, in their due diligence, 60 Minutes reached out to the Trump administration and they declined for comment. So I don't know what her reasoning is at all. But my point is, in this time of scary media conglomeration.
63.
Oh.
5 more members.
Philip H., our good friend.
One
Philip
of our
H.,
great friends.
I think Philip H. has gifted probably the most memberships of anybody.
Yes, over time.
Philip H. just gifted 5 memberships, so thank you to Philip H. We're up to 63 new members.
You really put your finger on something very important, Sam.
Oh, I did?
You're, of course, our media expert. The corporate takeover of the media, or the takeover by billionaires like Jeff Bezos, who's really ruined the editorial part of the Washington Post and I forget his name, the billionaire who took over the Los Angeles Times. So we have billionaires and big corporations taking over the mainstream media. And what happened at 60 Minutes is even worse, Sam, than meets the eye.
Tell us.
Not only did she kill this story,
Right.
but they had, I think, 4-story meetings in which they went over every aspect of the story. It was run by their standard and practices people, their legal authorities, all cleared. How many of those 4 meetings did Barry Weiss attend before swooping in at the last minute and canceling?
0.
0. Shouldn't attend any of the meetings. Absolute dereliction of duty. Then at the last minute, right before it's air, she swoops in and kills it. And the reporter who filed this said, this was cleared by everyone. And clearly your killing it was political. And your explanation is not only nonsensical, but dangerous. She said, look, if the administration can kill a story just by refusing to comment, that gives them total control of what the media does. It gives them, in effect, a kill
Right.
switch. How can you possibly?
Yeah, it's nonsensical. And, I actually worked on a piece on Sakote for DW News. If you go down to my Instagram, if you're watching, you can see the @ down below, @SammyLicht. Check out my Instagram story. There is linked the piece I did on Sakote for DW News with one of their reporters there. So
Pretty horrific.
it's pretty horrific. And I did this months ago, and, I guess
It's an ongoing story. It's not, oh, this was already reported, we don't need to focus. That's absolute nonsense.
right.
It's not an obsolete story. And while, yes, this has been reported, including by the great Sam Lichtman,
Oh,
they had a lot of new information. A lot
Right,
of
true.
direct information to what happened firsthand by prisoners at Seacoast.
Michael Sheffield just donated 10 memberships.
Thank you.
Shout out to Michael Sheffield. And Philip H. donated another 5 memberships.
Wow, Philip H. is awesome.
And Janice Hornberg became a member. Thank you very much. This is a donation from, let's see. Oh, George Politis. He said, Sam, you are very bad with names.
What did he say?
He said, I'm bad with names because I always called him Greg and I called
Yes.
this guy Trump instead of
And you don't
Truman.
have an excuse. You're not
I have,
old and
like-
broken down like me.
You have to understand, guys, I have like a very mild case of dyslexia.
Yeah, I
so
do
like
too.
when I read names, I guess my brain moves or my mouth moves faster than my brain, or my brain
that's dyslexia.
jumps to a conclusion before I finish reading it. So you guys have to give me a little bit of slack on that sometimes. I apologize. George Politis. I got that for sure.
So, Sam, is the Epstein matter going to go away? Not anytime soon.
I don't know. It's hard for... I don't think it's going to go away. And I think it is definitely going to damage Republicans. Like, I think they're toast in the midterms.
Yes.
I think this might even be bad enough that they could be toast in 28. But I've kind of said this before. Like, a lot of the damage has been done. Like, Trump is already president. He already, he's been lying to us for a decade and people still elected him. And he's not going to get impeached. I mean, maybe if there's like a historic House surge from the Dems
and the Senate. That's even more important.
And then
because
the
they
Senate.
confirm the judges.
So I think this is damaging and it's going to hurt them politically.
No question.
But I also sort of feel like Trump is Trump. He's still our president. He's still going to do lots of fucked up stuff in the next 4 years.
But it's very important what happens, who holds power after the midterms. Extremely important that we don't have Toady Johnson,
Toady Johnson.
a speaker. And maybe even wrest back control of the Senate so we can control some of the more outrageous appointees of Donald Trump. Speaking of appointments, do you see what he just did with Korea diplomats?
He removed a bunch of them, right?
30 fired. 30 career diplomats. Yes, career diplomats have been removed before, but never anything close to the magnitude and the suddenness of this firing. And his only rationale was they're not on board with my political agenda. These are career diplomats. They don't serve individual presidents. They serve the country. Of course, they can't contradict the president, but think of the experience and the knowledge that he's destroyed. And this is a guy who wants to be the great peacemaker, right? Mm-hmm. Wants to negotiate all these deals.
Right.
And getting rid of, the core or part of the core of career ambassadors is going to blow a big hole in any diplomatic initiatives that Trump wants to achieve. We've seen the same thing in the Justice Department, right? Firing all kinds of career prosecutors not for cause, but because they worked on the January 6th investigation or worked on the Russia investigation. This is blowing a huge hole, both abroad and at home, in critical knowledge and expertise. Moreover, our presence and our ability to influence events at home has been crippled by these horrific cuts in American foreign aid, which save almost nothing in the budget, a fraction of 1%, and yet have exposed children and mothers and dads and grandparents in some of the most poorest countries to hunger, disease, deprivation, for absolutely no reason other than to do what you want and to be as cruel as possible.
Vladimir Planton donated $2, and they said, Epstein will, in history, become Trump's Watergate. What do you think about that?
Maybe a little extreme. After all, Watergate was so horrific on so many different levels that it forced Nixon to resign. It wasn't just the break-in and the cover-up. There was much more to Watergate. It was also the illegal wiretapping of reporters and even members of the Nixon administration, illegal campaign contributions, dirty tricks to rig elections, the break-in, the burglary at the office of the psychiatrist of Daniel Ellsberg, my old late friend who released the Pentagon Papers. So it was a whole host of scandals, not just one, the use of the IRS, the enemies list. So Epstein alone will not force Trump to resign or get him impeached.
Someone, I think it was Secular Monk, one of our
good
long-term members, said earlier that the 60 Minutes piece about Sikot, the El Salvador prison, did air in Canada. So there are copies of that online if you want to take a look. I've seen some clips of it, and it seems to me like...
Yes, it did air in Canada from some affiliate, I think.
Yeah.
And it was picked up by a lot of internet websites.
From what I've seen, it is... And this, again, is part of also what we covered at DW, part of the piece I helped them with. Young Venezuelan men in the United States being sent to El Salvador to Sikot without having any criminal record, and being tortured there and being horrifically beaten tortured there. Yeah. And of course, the Trump administration is lying. They say everybody they sent there is a rapist and a murderer.
The worst of the worst, yeah.
But yeah, if you actually look at it and you investigate it for 2 seconds, you start to realize that they are lying. Thank you to John Thier, who gifted a membership. We appreciate that. I went to Vladimir Planton, who just donated $2. So good for you, Vladimir. Good for you, John. Thank you for your donation.
Here's the thing.
Okay, tell me.
It's not just those deported to CCOT who have no criminal convictions. Over 70% of those arrested and detained by ICE, in many cases brutally, right? We've seen videos of it, have no criminal convictions. I repeat, over 70% have no criminal convictions. Right. And the great majority of the remainder have convictions only for minor offenses, things like traffic violations.
Right.
A tiny proportion, of those arrested and detained are the worst of the worst. And yet, to listen to the Trump administration, you would think that's all that they're going after, these horrible, bloodthirsty criminals out to slit your throat.
And don't forget that the core of what they're telling you about immigrants is a lie, right? They're telling you that they're causing the affordability crisis, they're causing
the housing crisis,
right,
the crime.
They're causing you to lose their jobs. And again, if you actually take a look at these claims and you investigate them, they're all wrong. Like 100% of them are wrong. So not only are they lying about the people they're arresting, they're also lying about the core issues behind immigration. And they're making a large section of the American public believe that all their problems are caused by immigrants when you dig a little bit deeper, almost none of them are caused by immigrants. Obviously, I'm not saying that there are cases where illegal aliens commit crimes, even heinous crimes. I mean, that happens, right? But when you look at the data as a whole, when you look at issues like housing, employment, immigrants actually often help those numbers rather than hurt them. So not only are they lying to you, they're telling you the inverse of what's happening.
Yes. And of course, individual immigrants commit crimes. Individual German-American white people like Donald Trump commit more crimes, or, as many, There are over 20,000 murders every year in the United States, Sam. You can find examples of any group that commits a murder or even a series of murders. But what Donald Trump does, he takes one or two examples and then applies it to the entire group. So, if an immigrant from a certain country commits a crime, everyone from that country, or even everyone from that continent is guilty and should be banned from the United States. It is the worst kind of scapegoating. I hate to compare anyone to Hitler, but it's the kind of scapegoating that Hitler used against the Jews, and that's been used against the Jews for many, many hundreds, even thousands of years.
And it's something that, a lot of mainstream media, they don't seem to be pushing that point. They don't seem to be pushing back on those core points that Trump is making. Yes, they obviously report on the day-to-day operations of ICE, the day-to-day immigration policies of Trump, but I haven't really been seeing much in people in the media being like, wait a second, let's explore the core issues that this administration is claiming that immigrants cause. They seem to just, maybe they don't have enough time, maybe they feel like it doesn't get enough clicks, I don't know what it is, but they don't seem to cover it much.
No, that kind of in-depth coverage really seems to be disappearing. Remember, a lot of the papers or networks with the resources to do this kind of investigation, although it doesn't take that many resources, we do it as two people, right?
It's tough, but we try.
Are controlled by billionaires or by corporations and have myriad of conflicts of interest with the Trump administration.
I just shared the link to the piece I did on Sick Coat with DW News.
Awesome.
If you want to check that out. We have over 900 people watching, close to 500 likes. Make sure if you're watching, you haven't liked, click that like button. Subscribe if you're not subscribed. Remember, we're in the middle of our 2025 membership drive. It is the season of giving. We are at 80 new members.
Wow, that's pretty good, not good enough.
Let's see if we can crack 100.
We're not even in the first hour.
Right.
I hope we can crack 200.
What?
Time.
That would be crazy, man.
By the time we're done.
200?
Here's another very interesting article. Revelation. Trump is losing sight of America's real terrorist threat. You know what that's all about?
Tell me.
Trump is wasting all of these resources going after his political enemies who, even if you accept everything they say, committed the most minor of crimes that have no impact on anyone. Supposedly they claim, it's probably not even true, Letitia James, said a house she bought was not a rental property and saved $18,000. But in fact, it's very ambiguous. This is coming from a guy who saved hundreds of thousands by claiming things like my 10 to 11,000 square foot apartment is really 30,000 square feet. And he's all indignant about some minor error she may or may not have made on some mortgage application, or going after James Comey for answering, to the best of his recollection, something he said 2 years earlier in response to a very ambiguous question in a congressional hearing by Ted Cruz. So they're wasting all of this time going after, their political enemies to not one whit of benefit to the safety or well-being of the American people. And then they're going after so-called Antifa, which doesn't even exist. There's no such organization, terrorist group, as Antifa. They're bringing this huge armada into the Caribbean, blowing up these small boats, killing people extrajudicially, which will not do one whit to stop the flow of drugs. The fentanyl that's so dangerous doesn't even come from that part of the world. So while they're diverting all these resources, what are they not focusing on? The real dangers coming from a resurgent ISIS, right? The Islamic State. It no longer has a caliphate, a big swath of territory that it's controlled, but it's spread all over the world and is committing heinous terrorist acts. Same thing, Al-Qaeda has now reformed and is committing heinous terrorist acts. So what's more important? Going after Letitia James for an alleged $18,000 fraud, which is very dubious anyway, or fighting the real dangers, the real terrorists that are ravaging innocent people around the world? It's just astounding.
I want to give a shout out to John Thier, who gifted another membership. Thank you to John.
Thank you.
We appreciate you gifting those memberships. We are now at 81 new members. I said we're trying to hit 100. You said we're trying to hit 200.
I hope we can get 200. We haven't even finished our first hour.
True, we haven't even finished the first hour yet. If we can hit 200, man, I'll go like this. Yippee! I guess I already did that, huh?
So you mentioned Trump already putting his name on the Kennedy Center.
Yes.
Now, here's just came out 4 hours ago.
Really?
Trump plans for a warship named, guess what?
I thought this came out yesterday.
Did it come out yesterday? The Donald Trump battleship.
Right. Isn't he?
Trump-class battleship.
Yeah, the Trump-class battleships, yeah. This guy has to put his name on everything. Well, it's like, chill out, dude.
Yes.
Chill. Like, we don't need your name on everything that you've ever done. It's like if it seems that like Trump RX, the Trump Kennedy Center, the Trump class battleships, the Trump card for immigration. It's like, dude, no, has any president ever, even that alone,
the Trump rebate check, right?
Has any president ever come close to putting their names on that much crap?
Close. Here's the thing. Trump claims to be this great builder, right? He is an absolute disaster as a builder. I discussed two projects in my 2017 book, The Case for Impeachment, Tampa and Fort Lauderdale, both of which never got beyond a hole in the ground, totally collapsed, even though Trump had promoted them to the sky. Did Trump lose anything? No. Who lost? The people who invested with him. And this is repeated in Canada, in Puerto Rico, in Eastern Europe. All over the world, Trump building projects have become disasters. And in recent years, he hasn't built anything. What has he done to make his money, Sam?
He sells his name.
He sells his name. That's how he makes his money. And so this is consistent. It's not new. This is consistent with the past several decades of Trump business practice.
I'm just like, it's just getting kind of psychotic at a point. It's like, dude, like... Well,
psychologists have claimed that. We're not psychologists or psychiatrists, but a number... Your sister is a psychiatrist.
It's like, dude, have some humility. You know what I mean? Like, have one thing that you roll out and not have your name on it. just like a tiny bit, like curb your ego 3%. You know what I mean? Like, we just need a break from this guy's ego. Like, that alone, just dealing with this man's ego 24/7 is enough to drive you.
And people
up a
around the
wall.
world know that. You know, how do foreign leaders deal with Trump, Sam?
They like suck up to him.
They suck up to him. They flatter him. They know that's the way you have to deal with Donald Trump. Just appeal to his narcissism. Now, here's something else.
Oh, wow. You're chock full of it tonight.
Yeah. Trump cancels wind power offshore
Oh,
farms
right. I did hear about that.
that are already under construction that promise clean, renewable sources of energy, cheaper than the typical energy in the grid.
Why is he
that
so-
provide thousands of jobs.
Why is he so obsessed with wind? I don't
He's
get
so
it.
obsessed with climate change.
Yeah. But
Remember, he claims climate change is a hoax.
I know, but he doesn't go crazy about like solar like he does with wind farms and stuff. There's something particular about wind farms and windmills.
He is
that,
particularly concerned about wind farms, but generally he's against clean and renewable
Sure.
and the big boomer of coal and oil and gas.
Sheriff Truman donated another 10 memberships.
Wow.
Holy moly, that's awesome.
I mean, talk about patently absurd rationales. Get this. Here's why they've canceled the wind farms. In a Fox Business News interview, Interior Secretary Doug Burgum said the Department of Defense has, quote, conclusively determined that large offshore wind farms have created radar interference
Oh,
that creates a genuine risk.
They were saying it's
for
a
the
national.
US.
Yeah, they were saying it was a national security risk.
Yeah, it's just absolutely absurd. They claim anything they don't like is a national security risk, right?
Look, I worked in aviation a little bit. I'm no technician or anything like that, but I cannot imagine how a fixed placed wind farm could cause what did they say calls radar issues.
interference.
It's like on a map you'll know, okay, if you see something in this approximate zone, right, it's
Right.
probably windmills. Also, windmills aren't that big. They're not going to interfere with aircraft. I mean, it doesn't make any sense to me.
Here's the spokesperson for the Oceanic Network, a trade group that represents offshore wind companies. It says they've worked for over a decade with the Department of Defense to address any national security concerns
Right.
they may have. She went on to say, quote, the Department of Defense has signed off on every offshore wind lease ahead of construction. So
Yeah.
these are operations that have already been cleared by the Department of Defense as not posing a threat. They're already under construction. There are thousands of people working on it, and their claim that this interferes with national security, which is supported by no analysis, of course, like everything else that's just asserted, is totally counter to the facts that we know about the construction of these offshore wind farms.
I want to give a shout out to one of our longtime members, Alex Kawa, who just gifted 5 memberships and said, Merry Christmas to those who got those memberships. Thank you, Alex. Merry Christmas to everybody who got those memberships from Alex. Also, D. Sereno 2 just became a member. We're at 97 memberships.
Wow.
We've just gone past 9 o'clock here on the East Coast, and we're almost to 100. Let's see if we can get to 100 in the next 5 minutes.
That would be great. All right. You ready for another? I mean, the great hits just keep coming, don't they?
The terrible hits, maybe.
These are
More
all
like-
awful. So the Trump administration has instituted a new crackdown on the Smithsonian Institution,
Oh, no.
claiming it will withhold federal funding, which is a huge chunk of their funding, not all of it, unless they comply with the administration's ideological review. And you know who the head of the Smithsonian is, Sam?
Benny Thompson.
No, he's the congressman who ran the.
Oh.
Lonnie Bunch.
Oh,
You know who he is? My former
your former student.
Yes, at American University, and he's in an impossible position, right? He doesn't want to prostitute the Smithsonian for the whims of Donald Trump, but on the other hand, he can't afford to lose the federal funding, just like a lot of these law firms. He said that we will be consistent with the executive order. Very, very bland. It's your mom.
We're in the middle of a show.
Don't turn her off.
We're in the middle of a show.
You don't know what she wanted. You shouldn't do that.
We're in the middle
I
of
know
a show.
we are. But she might have had something critically important to
I
convey.
don't think so. We're in the middle of a show. I want to give some shout outs to people who just donated members and became members. Shout out to Free Throw Guy 22 who donated 5 memberships. Sheriff Truman 1999 donated another 5 memberships. Ruben Martinez became a member. John Rogers donated another 5 memberships. We are officially over 100 memberships. We did it, Dad. I said in the next 5 minutes I'd like to hit 100.
So what I was talking about the Smithsonian. What they want the Smithsonian to do is they so-called, be consistent with the greatness of America. What they want them to do is conform to Trump and his allies, not historically accurate view of America, but their politically driven view. If you don't believe me, it's right there on paper. Check out what Trump and his allies believe is the accurate rendition of American history and the American experience. It's the 1776 project released right at the end of Trump's first term. Some 50 of the nation's leading academic and scholarly organizations, including the American Historical Association, roundly denounced the report, basically saying it's not a work of history, it's a work of propaganda. It has absolutely no relationship to any recent historical scholarship. It is just filled with errors. For example, claiming that the United States was a leader in the abolition of slavery. Well, we were behind virtually every other country. Spain, Britain, France, most of Latin America were ahead of us. We didn't abolish slavery until 1865 after a horrific, bloody war. Or it claimed that Martin Luther King agreed that America had redeemed the promise of the Declaration of Independence. Well, to claim that, they had to truncate King's statement right in the middle and leave out the next part, which he said, this promise has not yet been redeemed, and there's still a lot of work to do. And he was a strong supporter of diversity, equity, and inclusion initiatives, a strong supporter of affirmative action. Another example, they include as the 3 major enemies of America, fascism, communism, and progressivism. As one historian put it, I've now had to redo my lectures to equate meat inspection and women's suffrage with Hitlerism. That's just some examples of how horrific, how unfounded this view of the American experience is that they want to impose, not just on the Smithsonian, which is very vulnerable to them, but on every educational and cultural institution in America.
Kevin with 415 says, why'd you start an hour early? Well, if you're just joining us, it's just past 9 p.m., which is our normal starting time. We decided to go early tonight because we won't be live on Christmas Day this Thursday, and we are doing a membership drive. So we wanted to hang out a little bit longer to try to get the membership drive juices flowing. I think I saw another person become a member. Peaceful Resistor
Whoa,
just became a
like
member.
that.
I like that too. If you're a member, your name should be green in the chat, and you'll have a star next to your name.
Oh, a star! You get a star too.
You get a star, yes. So if you were gifted a membership during the stream, your name turns green and you get a star next to it. So shout out to you if you got gifted a membership, and shout out to all the people gifting memberships. I think we might get to 200. It's possible. We're at 114. It's about 10 minutes past 9 p.m. here on the East Coast.
You know, one thing we've been saying for a long time, you can speak to this directly, that this chainsaw that Elon Musk and the Department of Government Efficiency took to federal workers did not save any money. There's now a extensive study of that, which shows that almost everything that they've claimed about saving big money from these cuts is a lie.
Of course it is. We all knew it was
an absolute lie. That if anything, these massive cuts, which imposed enormous cruelty on hundreds of thousands of people and their families, at best saved a incalculably small fraction of the federal government, and at worst actually cost rather than save money, because of the loss of effectiveness of the agencies, because of the loss of tax revenue, because of the collection of unemployment compensation, because of the loss of money being spent in communities.
Shout out to Secular Monk for gifting 5 memberships, and Sheriff Truman 1999 gifted another membership. Sheriff Truman has been gifting many memberships this evening. Sharon Novak just donated $10 and said Merry Christmas. Merry Christmas to you, Sharon. Gene Grant became a member. We're at 121 members, Dad.
All right, and rising, we hope.
And rising, we hope. You know, one interesting thing I saw, I think either today or yesterday, was that this summer the U.S. economy actually grew.
Yeah, it grew robustly.
Like more than it has since pre-pandemic.
Yes.
And obviously we've been seeing the stock market and precious metals hit all-time highs. At the same time, we're seeing inflation. At the same time, we're seeing unemployment rise.
And for ordinary people, wages are flat.
Right.
All the increase has come at the upper levels of the income and wealth bracket. None of this economic growth has, which is, contrary to the trickle-down theory, trickled down to middle class and less affluent Americans.
Right.
It's almost all been at the top of the income and wealth bracket. The rich have become vastly richer. The poor have actually become poorer, and the middle class has been stagnant.
And isn't it also the stock market is essentially being held up by 7 companies?
7 companies.
They call it the Magnificent Seven, who are essentially driving the entire market. So you've got not only in your average person, you're seeing sort of the wealth inequality grow and a few people become richer. You're seeing that in corporations too. There are a few corporations that are just becoming so absurdly wealthy and powerful and basically are steering the entire U.S. stock market.
What'd you tell me about NVIDIA?
There's some people who think that in the next 5 to 10 years, NVIDIA will be worth like $7 trillion or something like that.
When I was a kid, I read a lot of science fiction. And a lot of the stories talked about the fact that America, and this was, in the 50s, was becoming so corporate that eventually one huge corporation would control everything and we'd all be dependent on. I thought that was just, a pile of nonsense. Well, not quite there, but we're not that far. A very few corporations have just enormous outside, not just economic power, but as we've seen, also enormous political power.
One thing I have seen, though, that gas prices have gone down quite a bit since Trump has been in office.
That's true. There have been some selective price reductions, but they're nowhere as low, of course, as Trump claimed, $1.99. He lied about that as well.
Right. And there was, for example, beef has gone way up for some reason.
Yes.
I'm not exactly
But overall,
sure why.
inflation under Trump has been about the same as the last year of the Biden administration.
Right.
Despite Trump saying, Biden left me record high inflation.
Everett, who's been a member for 8 months, says,
Wow.
Merry Christmas, everyone. Thank you to Everett.
Thank you.
John Rogers gifted another 5 memberships.
Nice.
Philip H., who's been a member for 17 months. That might be
a record.
That might be the moment we got memberships eligible. They say, Happy Merry Hollow Thanks Christmasoka.
All right.
I think that one went right over my dad's head. Okay, we are at 126 new members. Wow, what a night. Thank you all for your generosity. Thank you all for becoming members. We really appreciate it a lot. Anthony, our mod, says that gas is $2.73 where he lives in Connecticut.
That's about the average, 270,
Okay.
not 199 as Trump claimed.
Right. I mean, basically any number that comes out of Trump's mouth is a lie.
Everyone,
Pretty
as one
much.
a reporter put it, I think it was from the New York Times, an 18-minute speech will keep fact checkers busy for days.
Shout out to Sheriff Truman 1999 with another gifted membership.
Nice.
And Vladimir Plantin just gifted a membership as well. Shout out to everybody who's getting gifted memberships. It's great to see folks getting gifted memberships. We're now at 128 new members. It is 9:15 here on the East Coast.
You think we get a 200?
It's possible, man. Judy says gas is $3.75 in Portland. I'm not sure if that's Portland, Oregon, or Portland,
Maine. Probably Portland, Oregon.
Dad, do you know what 6.7 is?
Yes.
You do?
Yeah, it could be this, could be that.
Oh, wow.
Hey, I'm right in there with the teen culture.
Okay, there you go. This is from Secular Monk. Happy holidays. Do you think that Jon Stewart would have a chance at winning the presidency if he ran in 2028? I know he is reluctant.
I don't think he should run. He's got better things to do.
Yeah, I agree. I think he's effective at what he does.
What he does, and
he should keep doing that.
You got to raise $1 billion, and I don't think he has the base to do that.
2009 KWOW Gala says, if you stay on until midnight, you'll get 200 new members.
We're not staying on until midnight.
He's old, guys.
Yeah, 2 hours is a big stretch for me.
He needs his rest.
Not only am I old, I'm still recovering from total shoulder replacement surgery.
Right, but you're hip. You know what 6'7" is.
I do.
Wow, I'm impressed. Did I tell you what that was?
No, I surprise you with things.
Yeah, you do. You're a
All right, here's
surprising guy.
another. One of the things Trump has done, of course, is tried, in this totally distorted view of the American experience, tried to erase the experience of women and minorities, right?
Right.
So we just heard he replaces America 250 anniversary quarters honoring abolition and women's suffrage, abolishing them from the anniversary quarters, replacing them with Mayflower and Gettysburg designs. In other words, replacing them with white men.
This is from member Miles Wolf. They say, though Vance doesn't rile up the base like Trump does, will Turning Points USA, which was Charlie Kirk's organization, not his wife's organization.
Erica Kirk, yeah.
Will this give him the handicap he needs to compensate for his lack of base enthusiasm in 2028?
I don't think you can compensate. We saw this with Ron DeSantis. Remember, he won blowout elections in Florida, was considered a real contender, but he was the anti-charismatic candidate. I think Vance falls into that category as well, and that's very hard to overcome.
Annie's kid said Alan needs a soda, so I thought I'd hand you a soda.
Oh, yeah.
Huh? Yeah. I have to say, I saw a few clips of Vance's speech during the Turning Point USA conference. I think it was last week or early this week. I mean, this guy is pretty gross. I mean, he was going on about how you don't have to apologize for being white anymore.
Yeah, since when has anyone apologized for being white?
It's the most absurd thing that you've probably ever heard. The idea that in the United States of America, which has been a country run by majority white men for the last 200 years.
Still true.
Right, that white people have needed to apologize. I mean, it's such racist dog whistling.
It really is.
They like to throw up their hands like snowflakes when you accuse them of being racist, but then they do racist crap like this
all the time. And, how about S-hole countries?
And they hide it behind, well, we were talking about how white people. It's like,
yeah,
if you think critically about that for 2 seconds, you can see how racist that is, and also how nonsensical that is, and how much I don't understand why in the modern conservative movement there's this move to victimize themselves. They call
I
liberals,
explain that in my book, Sam.
Oh, you do?
I sure do. I go into that whole thing about white people and Christians being persecuted.
Right.
Well, you see that in Trump. Who does he think are the most persecuted people in the world? Not people being destroyed by a war in Sudan, for example, or in Southeast Asia, but who does he think are the most persecuted people in the world who deserve special treatment? White Afrikaners, who are the wealthiest, most privileged people in South Africa, and who until, very recently were operating the horrific apartheid system in that country. But these are supposedly the most persecuted people in the world who deserve special treatment. It's, it could not be more racist.
This is from our good friend Philip H. They say, I honestly don't think Trump is behind any of the, quote, removal of suffrage quarters or, quote, deflagging the swastika as a hate symbol. It must be the Heritage Foundation.
Well, it's all of a piece.
Right. They're all connected.
Yeah, it's all connected.
Heritage,
none of this would be happening without Trump's leadership.
Yes, that's true.
But that's, I'm always happy to hear from Philip.
Oh, my God. Sheriff Truman gifted another 20 memberships.
Wow.
Sheriff Truman is our hero tonight, man.
I'll say.
Holy moly. And it's strange. I don't think I've ever seen Sheriff Truman pop up in our chat before.
I don't recall the name.
Maybe he's just been a silent viewer. I'm not sure.
But this is awesome.
Do you know who Nicki Minaj is?
Yeah, singer.
She's a rapper, singer.
Yeah.
She's a black woman from the Bronx. Yeah. Not that black people can't be conservative, but...
there are black conservatives, but they're a small minority.
But she came out on stage at Turning Point USA with Erica Kirk and was saying all these very MAGA, pro-Trump things. And I know, just very strange, especially from my perspective, because she came up in my generation, maybe like the early 2010s. 2005 to 2015, and I don't know, it just was very strange to see her at the Turning Point conference. I know
they love to trot out, the very few black conservatives.
Right, but I think my point is, I think this might be a new thing. I'm not sure. I mean, maybe she's just getting political. It's just kind of strange.
I don't know enough about it to comment.
Yeah, but also there seems to be, I don't know if you've been following this, there seems to be a little bit of some inner turmoil between the MAGA influencers. At the Turning Point conference, Ben Shapiro called out, I think, both Tucker Carlson and Candace Owens.
Yes, for their
Semitism. This whole Epstein, I think it's all tied into one, obviously, Charlie Kirk's assassination, Israel, and the Epstein files. Those three topics have seemed to sort of shake the MAGA influencer world a little bit.
I think that's right. You're beginning to see some cracks, and the defections from the Heritage Foundation. We've never seen that before. I mean, they have always been, since the 1970s, the flagship conservative think tank group. And the fact that they've splintered in that way is of great significance. And a lot of them have gone over to Mike Pence's new organization.
I made a mistake. Nicki Minaj is from Queens, not the Bronx.
Oh.
Cardi B.
Big difference.
Cardi B is from the Bronx. You know who Cardi B is?
Yes.
Another
singer.
Okay. I think the thing, I don't know, when I was growing up, I remember Nicki Minaj, a lot of the LGBTQ folks really were into Nicki Minaj. And I sort of remember her having a close connection to the LGBT community.
I guess not anymore.
I mean, Turning Points USA is pretty anti-LGBT, pretty much as anti as you can get in terms of a major political organization in the United States.
Absolutely. So. We went over, after Charlie Kirk's assassination, saying, we mourn the loss, we mourn the killing, but that doesn't mean we celebrate his life. There's a big difference. And we pointed out all the hateful things he says about, LGBTQ people, about minorities, about Islam, hateful, awful stuff, not marginal.
I think there was even a clip of Charlie Kirk saying that he would never. Someone asked him years ago about Nicki Minaj, and he said, I would never consider Nicki Minaj as a role model for young black women or something like that.
Something like that, yeah. Where are we at 159?
We are at 159 new memberships. Thank you to everybody who's been gifting memberships. We appreciate you a lot. That's been extremely helpful in this membership goal. Shout out to everybody who's been gifted a membership. And if you were gifted a membership, shout out the person who gave you a membership, because Michael Sheffield just gifted another 10 memberships.
Wow.
We appreciate that a lot.
We're getting close.
We're getting really close. We're 41 away. And Sheriff Truman delivers another 10 gifted memberships. Wow. Sheriff Truman, 1999, the hero of the 2025 membership stream. We appreciate you a lot.
I talked about the horrific effects of the aid cuts, the international aid cuts.
Yes.
That saved essentially no money, but, imposed great cruelty on people depending on food aid or medicines. Well, here is another example that critical aid has been withheld from Myanmar's persecuted Rohingya minority, and they are suffering enormously as a result of the sudden and severe foreign aid cuts imposed this year by U.S. President Donald Trump. It shuttered thousands of the camp schools that they depend upon, shuttered youth training centers, and crippled programs to protect children.
That's pretty bad.
To no end, just pure cruelty. And if anything, it undermines our position. There's something called soft power. And who steps in when we move out?
Russia and China.
Exactly. This is just not only indescribably cruel, but is incredibly short-sighted. If you believe in America first, this is exactly what you should not be doing.
Bo Boy QC just donated 5 memberships. We are now at 174 new memberships. Let's go!
We have about a half hour to go, and I think we can do it.
We got about a half hour to go. I think we will do it. Sheriff donated another membership. We've got a new sheriff in town. Patrick Murray donated another membership. Thank you to Patrick Murray.
Patrick Murray is one of our great buddies.
This is a question from Patrick Murray. They say, do you think it is possible to have another, I'm not sure how to say this, Sacco and Vanzetti kind of situation under this Trump administration, meaning we'll see an immigrant undergo a sham trial and then be executed? What the heck?
Yeah, well, Sacco and Vanzetti were 2 Italian immigrants accused of murder. They were railroaded, in effect. Unlikely that they actually committed the murder, but they were immigrant scapegoats in the 1920s at a time of virulent anti-immigration reaction. It would not surprise me, maybe not to see an exact replica of the Sacco and Vanzetti tragedy, but something along those lines in terms of a phony trial of an immigrant. We've always seen it to a great extent with Albrego Garcia.
Right.
And all the phony things they've accused him of.
When was this?
1920s.
Oh, 1920s. Thank you to Peaceful Resistor for $5. Rusnout just gifted 10 memberships, and we are now at 186 memberships.
We're gonna break 200.
We're gonna break 200. Can we get to 210? You think, Dad?
Wow.
Let's see if we can get to 210. This is a question about Abrego Garcia. This is from one of our longtime members, Diane Kastner. And remember, now that you're a member, okay, so this is what happened. Now that you're a member, before every show, we put a post up here on YouTube, and it says, members, put your questions here for today's show. Okay, so now that you're a member, you can put your question, and that post only goes out to members, so you can put your questions into the comments of the section of that post. We take all those questions, we put them in our document for the night, and you are in line to get your question answered by this guy, Alan Lichtman.
Yes.
The sheriff gifted another membership. Diane Kastner's question. Kilmar Abrego Garcia is finally home. Does the Trump administration have any more ammunition against him? What do you think may happen in the future?
They're not relieving this obsession. They still claim that they have every right to deport him, even though he may not be put on trial criminally. You don't have to be obviously a convicted criminal to be deported. The vast majority of those deported are not. So, yes, they still have an arrow in their quiver to shoot after him. Whether they'll succeed or not is another matter. But they cannot, under the judge's ruling, send him back to El Salvador.
And he's from our county, actually.
Yes.
Montgomery County, Maryland. Fun fact. Let's see.
188.
Oh, we're at
We're
188.
getting close.
The sheriff, of course, donated another membership. I almost missed that.
Wow.
The sheriff. We got a new sheriff in town. Sheriff Truman, 1999, is tonight's hero. And Philip H. comes in hot with another 5 memberships. Philip
Wow.
H. is our longtime hero.
He's our hero.
Philip H.
192.
192. We are 8 members away from hitting 200 new members on this stream. That is amazing. Also, if you're watching and you haven't liked the stream yet, don't forget to like the stream. Subscribe if you're not subscribed. Turn on that notification bell so you know we're live. Happy holidays to everybody, whether you celebrate Hanukkah, whether you celebrate Christmas, whether you celebrate Kwanzaa, whether you celebrate Festivus. You're a Seinfeld fan.
Right.
That's the main holidays in December, right?
Yep.
Kwanzaa, Christmas, Hanukkah.
Yep.
Are there any Islamic holidays in December?
Not that I know of, but I'm
that I
not
know
an
of.
Islamic expert.
You're not?
No.
Well, get to it, man.
Yeah.
Philip H. with another gifted membership. Philip H. is a longtime generous man or woman or person who often gifts memberships. And he's in another one. Another membership.
194, 195. We're almost there. And notice, too, although we started out talking about Epstein, how many other outrages did we mention?
Right.
Half a dozen.
Yeah, there's been a lot happening.
There's been an awful lot happening, not just the Epstein files.
You think it'll calm down here at the end of the year from Christmas to New Year's?
I don't know. They may release more Epstein stuff.
Yeah, not with the Epstein stuff here.
Yeah. In fact, that's probably, they want to introduce it as close to the holidays as possible to diminish attention.
Terry Eagle just became a member. Thank you to Terry Eagle.
197.
Kim Ann just became a member. Thank you to Kim Ann. Alex Kawa says, you get a membership, and you get a membership. Everybody gets a membership. Heck yeah. See, this is the reason to tune in for the membership streams. If you're here, the chances are you might get gifted a membership. So
yeah,
if you missed out, make sure you're here next year.
Yeah.
Let's say that. And here's a question from Alex.
I'm happy to take questions.
Jason just donated a membership. Thank you to Jason, YT5YK. This is from Alex Kawa. They say, climate change is consistently ranked low on the list of voters' most important issues. Just like with a lot of issues, Dem messaging, or lack thereof, is no small reason for this. How can Dems more effectively message this issue to the public and break through big oil and right-wing propaganda?
Boy, very difficult. There's so much money and so much influence on the other side, along with all the lies coming out of this administration about climate change and the erasure, the absolute erasure of any information, even a mention of climate change anywhere in the federal government. The only way Democrats can really make this issue important is to bring it down, as my great late friend Jerry Hebert said, down where the goats can get it. Show that it affects in a critical way your daily lives. For some reason, and I find it hard to believe, it's still very much an abstraction for the American people. Plus, need to pay attention to what your brilliant mom, Karen Strickler, does with her climate change PAC, the world's only climate change election guide, national and state, which is the only guide that looks at both incumbents and challengers and open seats on their climate score. It's very, very important that Democrats get behind those who make climate change a priority and target the anti-climate change Republicans.
I'm not sure if we've already covered this. I'm seeing reports that there have been even more files released tonight.
I haven't seen anything since this morning.
Maybe I'm wrong about that.
You could be right. You're usually right about the breaking news.
This is 1 hour ago from CNN. Justice Department releases new batch of documents in Epstein investigation. Live updates. Here we go. 34 minutes ago. Deputy AG Todd Blanche describes handwritten letter released today as, quote, clearly fake.
We've already gone over that.
Went over that.
And who knows?
Huh. This is an article from an hour ago from CNN, but I'm not seeing anything more than that headline.
All right, here's something from an internet nerd. You ready?
Yes.
Portions of some files released from the Justice Department on Jeffrey Epstein were not properly redacted digitally. Imagine that. They're incompetent.
Right.
Were not properly redacted digitally, with some censored information easily revealed by copying and pasting blacked out text into a separate file. The information so far from the failed redactions shed no light on the additional light on the well-documented relationship between President Trump and Mr. Epstein, but it shows more examples of how Mr. Epstein carried out his abuse and concealed his money through financial and corporate structures. And the ease of recovering the material suggested that at least a few materials in the trove of documents released by the Justice Department were hastily censored with failed redactions. Imagine that.
These guys suck, dude.
Sam.
We are now over 200 members.
Yes.
Let's go!
Can we get to
members.
250? We have 20 minutes left.
The sheriff says, Sheriff Truman, 1999, donated $32.33, and they said, that should be 100 members gifted by me. Let's go. Let's get to 200. Well, thanks to you, Sheriff. We have now hit over 200 members. Thanks to Braid E, who just donated 5 memberships. I believe that gifted bunch from Brady has put us over the top. Shout out to Brady. Shout out to everyone gifting memberships. Diego says, Sam, bro, feel like I predicted the CBS thing. I knew Bari Weiss was not going to be trusted. Sooner or later, they all bend the knee. Thanks for the membership. I do remember you, Diego, mentioning your distrust of Bari Weiss.
We talked about that, yes.
Shout out to Diego. We are now at over 200 memberships on this stream. A big day here for Lichtman Live. Our biggest day ever.
For members.
I don't know why we didn't do a member stream last year. I just thought of it this year.
We should have done one every year.
We should have done one every year. I forgot.
Samuel, you're falling down on the job.
Well, I did it this year, right?
That's true. And it's been wildly successful. 204. Let's get to 250 in the next 20 minutes.
Pam C 2025 just became the 204th new member tonight of Lichtman Live. A podcast, a live show, a variety hour. Well, how else could you describe this show, Dad?
Pretty much. We've gone over, 7 different... I mean, as you say, the hits just keep coming.
And at the end of the day, I see a lot of this in my generation, in younger generation. People are getting their news from different places. People are fed up with the mainstream media. They're boring. They put 2 talking heads on either side of the spectrum, and they just yell at each other for 20 minutes. People are getting sick and tired of the mainstream media. This is a place where you can come. Your questions can go directly to one of the world's leading presidential historians.
One of?
You're saying the.
I'm teasing you.
No, say it, man.
No, I'm not going to say it.
Hype yourself up.
No.
This is new media, and this is how new media works, right? And with your support, independent media will save the nation. Thank you to Studio LB for giving me that tagline right when I needed it. Do you agree with that?
100%. We're dependent on members and donations. That's where we get 99% of our funds.
I don't know if that's true, but that's how. That's a big
members,
chunk.
donations, and views.
You make money on YouTube. At least we do. We make money from ads, right? So when you watch a video,
very
you get
minimal
an ad.
amount from ads.
That's not true. Stop saying that.
All right.
I don't think you know the back room exactly how it's. That's not true. We get money from ads. We get money from memberships, and we get money from donations.
4 sources.
What's the fourth?
Ads,
Yeah.
views,
No.
memberships, and donations.
Ads and views are the same thing.
Oh, I didn't
Yes.
think. That's why I said ads are minimal. I thought
No.
when I'm thinking of ads, I'm thinking of the few commercials we've done.
You're talking about external sponsors.
External.
Yes.
It's a very tiny percentage.
I was talking about. You are right. The external sponsors don't give us a lot of money.
No. So we're totally independent, really.
Pretty much, and those
99%
sponsors, those sponsors don't control anything.
They've
with
never
what we
said
say.
anything to us about our content.
No. Yeah. Watch page ads, memberships, supers, and gifted, and you make a little bit of money from shorts, but
Yeah, not much.
Not much. Let's say that. And look, I don't think people realize how hard it is to make a living from YouTube. I mean, we're here twice a week. We're editing clips. We're producing the show.
I'm doing research.
He's
of
doing
all kinds.
research, and I couldn't. Let's just say this: with paying the people who work behind the scenes, I could not live off the money from this channel, right? So the more money we get, the more time and energy we can put into this, and the better content we can deliver to you. Do you think that's a fair assessment, Dad?
Yes, and only a very tiny amount goes to me.
Yes.
Minimal, almost nothing.
Yes.
Most of it goes to Sam or the people he's working with.
Let's see. Suzanne AP just gifted a membership. Thank you so much. 0day01, who's been a member for 2 months. They say, if you had to take a 3-credit-hour class of Dr. Lichtman at American University, it would be a lot more than a membership cost.
That's for sure.
AU ain't cheap.
It's not cheap. You're not getting a degree from this, but you're getting a lot of the same stuff. You pay a lot of money to hear me talk on campus.
Right.
No private university is cheap.
Right. This is from member Zoe K. Lynch, who's been a member for 11 months.
Wow.
They say, thank you for everything you do. Pam C. says, keep them coming. Corporate media is a farce.
It really is. It's just absurd.
Now, I do have real issues with corporate media, but I will say that there are a lot of really good journalists
Yes,
who work
that is true.
for corporate media outlets.
Like the one who did the CCOT thing
Yeah.
yes. And, while I deplore the ownership of the Post, there are still excellent journalists on the Post doing outstanding reporting that I do rely on.
I don't
Absolutely.
I don't want to go as far as the nonsense that the right wing tells you that
Yeah,
you
that's
can't listen
just
to
garbage.
anything from the you
No.
can't listen to journalists are all no. There are amazing journalists across the country
Lots of them,
who
yes.
work for very big outlets. There are also amazing journalists who are independent.
Right.
It's not really, the journalists are there doing a great job. The issues come about when things with Barry Rice, like something with Barry Weiss comes
Or
into
Jeff
play.
Bezos,
or Jeff Bezos,
killing
yeah,
and distorting the editorial page.
right, exactly.
But yeah, I do not fault the journalists or the opinion writers. They're outstanding at places like the New York Times, Washington Post. Terrific.
Absolutely. We are at 205 memberships. What do you want to push to, Dad? What's our next goal here?
220.
220.
We got about 15
We got about
minutes
15 minutes. Can we get
We
to
can get
220?
one per minute.
If we can get one per minute.
And I'm happy to answer questions in the next. I think I've hit 7 different issues, and even I think I've run out for the moment.
Yeah, no, I get that.
Even though 7 issues in one day. Can you imagine?
Wow. Pretty impressive from you, sir.
This isn't the quiet years of the Eisenhower administration.
The quiet years of the Eisenhower
Yes.
administration.
They actually weren't all that quiet, but
Sherry says, thank you for your wealth of knowledge, Alan.
we try. I don't think I've been stumped yet on a question.
Something about the opera.
Oh, please don't ask me. You did ask me a question about the opera, and I was able to answer it.
Yeah, I think you're right, actually.
Yeah.
I think you were able to answer it somehow. Thank you to G1 for becoming a member. We're now at 206 members. This is a question from Braid E, who donated the 5 memberships to push us past 200. They say, what do you make of all these nonsensical conspiracy theories that the far right continue to proclaim, such as the French president's wife being transgender? Why do they do this? What's the point? I'll tell you. I'm a media guy.
You can answer that.
the French president's wife being transgender has been mostly pushed by one specific conservative commentator, that is Candace Owens. The reason why a lot of these right-wing conservative folks push these type of conspiracy theories is because it gets clicks, and they make a whole boatload of money from it.
And it's a way of demonizing their opponents. Even the president of the United States said, I think I remember this pretty exactly, they're for transgender for everyone, as if they want to transform everyone into the opposite sex, even though gender affirmative surgery is proven to be very beneficial for a minuscule fraction of the American people, well under 1/100th of 1%.
Actually, we had this woman on our show when we had guests for about 4 seconds, Renee DiResta. She wrote a book about a lot of the sort of behind-the-scenes workings of how conspiracy theories
she was very good about that.
Work online and spread online. Her book is called Invisible Rulers. I highly recommend that. I think it's a very eye-opening book to understand the current media landscape. And, although we sort of have demonized, again, the corporate media, we've applauded a lot of the journalists that work for them. We talk about independent media, but also the internet has opened its own can of worms, and a lot of news and a lot of, political pundits online have been doing a ton of damage. So there's a happy medium here, folks, right? And I think this is where we come in.
Yes, this is where we are unique, I think.
It's not that, everybody in corporate media is the boogeyman. Everybody in independent media is good and moral. No. You still have to be very conscious with how you're ingesting independent media, and especially media from the internet, for sure. There's no doubt. Do you agree with that, Dad?
100%.
Not 98%, 100%.
No, 100%.
Did you hear
Sam
that?
Wisdom.
Is it true that people are trying to impeach Pam Bondi?
I've heard that there have been calls to impeach Pam Bondi. The chances of that in the Republican Congress, slim and none. Although, wouldn't take many Republicans to defect, would it? 4 of them. Not impossible that 4 could defect her. Certainly, it's a little bit dubious whether she's committed high crimes and misdemeanors. But arguably, you could make a case.
I mean,
I'm not making the case, but arguably you could make the case.
I mean, she leads the Justice Department, and the Justice Department, Thomas Massie and Ro Khanna, are making the case that they did break the law in their release of the Epstein files.
Right. But there's more to it if you're going to impeach her. Also, violating the independence of the Justice Department. I think that's even a bigger issue. Making the Justice Department part of the political operation of the administration. That's exactly what the Justice Department is not supposed to be. It's supposed to be the lawyer to the people and the Constitution. Donald Trump has his own lawyer, the White House counsel. He is not supposed to be dictating to the Attorney General. And that, in my view, is a more serious transgression.
Waterfront Tampa just became a member. They said, I just joined right now.
Wow.
206th member. I think you're actually the 207th member. So thank you to Waterfront Tampa for becoming a member. Wyatt Hamilton says Thomas Massey is the one leading the charge. That
Yes,
seems to
he's
be-
the Republican critic, along with the Democrat. Is it Ro Khanna who?
Yes.
Who has joined with him.
Now-
not impossible. Only takes 4 defections, presuming every Democrat votes for it.
Now, what exactly happened to Thomas Massey? Because I sort of have a memory of him years ago kind of being a little shit a little bit. But it seems like...
He's a supreme right-winger like Marjorie Taylor Greene, but,
Okay.
Has been personally offended by Donald Trump. And,
Good for him.
MTG, who for a long time was the great leader. Once she broke with Trump, she gets totally trashed. Or Elise Stefanik,
Yeah, what happened with her?
she got trashed by Trump.
Oh, is that what happened?
and
I
had to
didn't-
drop out.
I
of
saw
the
she
New York
dropped out, but I
governor's
didn't.
race.
I didn't
Yes.
see why.
Yeah, she was trashed by Trump.
I'm still not buying. There's still something in my mind fishy about the whole Marjorie Taylor Greene dropping out.
I agree.
thing. There's something
I understand
doesn't feel
that.
right about that.
But nonetheless, I welcome it. Whatever the motives, and I think they probably are fishy, it's been invaluable for someone that far right to be going after Trump.
No, I'm saying I don't find her going after Trump fishy. I find her resigning suddenly. I still find that weird.
Yeah, we talked about that. That is a little strange.
I still think there's something afoot there.
Quite possibly. I don't know what it would be, but quite possibly.
I don't know what it would be.
We have
either,
more
but-
questions? We need, what? We wanted to get to 220.
220.
We need 13 more. We have 10 minutes.
Wow, 10 minutes remaining to get
Yes.
13
13
more members on the 2025 Lichtman Live membership drive, hosted by Sam and Alan Lichtman.
Correct.
Do you want me to put your name first? Do you want it to be hosted by Alan and Sam Lichtman?
Sam and Alan.
Okay.
You're the boss. I just work here for nothing.
Brady says, I think Marjorie Taylor Greene might run for Georgia governor.
We thought about that she was resigning to run for some other office, and that's quite possible.
I still don't buy that.
We did raise that possibility.
I still don't buy that. People run for offices all the time while serving in office. I don't buy.
But this establishes an independent identity for her, which might be helpful in running for office.
Maybe. I don't know.
Hard to know without knowing the intricacies of Georgia Republican politics.
Should we do a poll? Is Marjorie Taylor Greene resigning fishy? Yes or no?
Sure.
No, you're not that interested in that.
Not that interesting.
Okay, he's not
They'll
that
all say
interesting.
yes.
They'll all say yes, you think?
Yeah.
Okay. You don't seem to think it's as fishy as I do.
I don't.
Yeah.
I mean, the degree of fishiness may be differentiated among us.
Fair. What's your... Okay, that's fair.
Questions. Do we have any questions?
Yes. Was Batista primarily a dictator driven by personal power or a product of Cold War pressures and U.S. influence?
Yeah, yes and yes.
Who is that? I don't know who that is.
Batista was the dictator of Cuba, who was overturned by the Castro rebellion. And he was, yes, a horrible dictator driven by personal power and wealth, and also, like so many other dictators, a product of U.S. influence. We supported dictators all over the world as a part of the anti-communist program of the Cold War.
Patrick Murray says Marjorie Taylor Greene resigned so she could run for president in 28 to escape the Epstein baggage. The escape the Epstein baggage thing to run makes a little bit more sense than just...
Why does she care about the Epstein baggage?
She doesn't want to be associated with it.
Yeah, but she isn't anyway. She's not mentioned.
Right.
All right, we're stalled at 2:07.
Oh my God, we're stalled.
7 minutes to get to 2:20.
2009 KY Gal says, Thomas Massey is my congressman. He's wrong on about 97% of things.
Correct. He's very right wing.
But he has been right on with several things lately. When I saw him, I thanked him for his advocacy for the Epstein victims.
Absolutely.
That
he
seems-
really not that he's abandoned his right-wing ideology, but has, done some, as the caller indicates, his congressperson has done some very good things.
Caller.
Recently.
There's no callers.
Oh, I know, the viewer. You still think I'm stuck in the 1950s, huh?
Hello? Oh, you'd like to talk to Alan? Here you go. Kathy Nelson just gifted 5 memberships.
All right, it's going up.
It's going up.
It's going up. We're going to hit 220. We have 6 minutes.
Thank you to Kathy Nelson.
Just need 8 more.
Appreciate Kathy Nelson for your membership.
We sure do.
We're at 212 members. We need 8 more to hit the 220 goal.
6 minutes.
And we have just been gifted 20 memberships by G1. Shout out to G1 for gifting 20. And John Rogers just gifted 5 memberships.
Wow.
We are surely to now soar past.
Look, it's over 220.
We are over 220. Let's get a round of applause.
Hard for me to applaud with my sore arm, but I can.
Okay, I'll applaud for you.
Yep. Wow, 227.
227. 230.
Gee. Amazing.
It is climbing. 234.
Wow.
237.
Can we hit 240? We have 5 minutes.
We have 5 minutes. Can we hit 240? I feel like an auctioneer tonight.
I know, you sound like
Can we get 240? 240.
Yeah, going once, going twice.
240. 240. Let me see 240. Philip H. 240.
Hey, that's pretty
Sheriff,
good.
240. That was pretty good.
You could have another job.
I guess auctioneers still exist,
know.
right? Probably not as prominent as they once were.
Now it's virtual.
So like when an auctioneer auctions off some $10 million painting, do they make money from that or no? I guess
they get a piece.
And we've just gotten 5 gifted memberships from Michael Sheffield. We are gonna climb over that 240 mark in just a second.
We're gonna blast through it.
G. Harris just became a member. We're at 242. 243.
Wow.
Holy moly. Thank you to everybody who has donated a membership tonight. It is very kind of you to support the show and to be giving in this time of giving to folks who maybe can't afford a membership. Now they can be part of the membership community.
And benefits come with that.
And benefits come with that.
Right? You get your questions prioritized.
You get your questions. You get your question in line. Yeah. We had to think of ideas to, give benefits to our members. We thought this was the best way to do it. And so far it seems pretty amazing. Our members seem pretty happy with it. So if you're a member, you are now part of the membership. Everybody here is part of our community. We appreciate every one of you, whether you are a member, you're not a member, you've been gifted a membership, you haven't been gifted a membership.
Yeah, and for your $5, you get good leverage.
Nan B says, "This is the best stream. It gives me hope for the future." Well, thank you to Nan B for those kind words.
And thank you for everyone who joined or donated.
Michael Sheffield says, "You guys earned it." Well, thank you, Michael Sheffield. Michael Sheffield has been extremely generous tonight.
Yes.
And Michael Sheffield, I've seen him many times before, them many times before. They are often very generous. Here for today says, "Awesome. Thanks to everyone who gifted memberships." Yes, thank you so much to everyone who gifted a membership. You are much appreciated. G. Harris says, "New year means my only news is Lichtman Live."
That's all you need.
One thing I think we do well too is we sort of glean the news, and we're sort of like a conglomeration of the news. You don't have to watch MSNBC all day. You can come here twice a week and get a pretty good understanding of what's happening in U.S. politics. I mean, obviously he has his expertise in U.S. politics. If you want
US
world
history,
news,
right?
Maybe we're not the best place for that, but certainly
we're not bad on world news.
We're not terrible. We're not terrible on world news.
We're better on U.S., but we're not bad on world.
Yes.
We kind of a one-stop shopping center for news, but more than news analysis.
Right.
That's our strength.
Well, that's your strength.
Yeah.
I don't know about my strength.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It's MS Now. It's not MSNBC.
That's right. I'm not sure why that. You explained it to me that had to do with some takeover.
I'm trying to remember now what it had to do with. I think maybe NBC is no longer affiliated with it.
Right,
or
something like that, yeah. But at any rate.
Do you know what MS stands for?
MS?
So it used to be MSNBC. Now it's just MS Now.
No,
Do you
what
know
does
what
MS
the MS
stand for?
section stands for?
Do you know?
Microsoft.
Oh,
Apparently
really?
when it first
they
became
control this?
Well, apparently when it first became a network, it was a joint venture between
With
NBC
Microsoft.
and Microsoft.
Right.
So, yeah.
All right. I think we're done.
All right, I think we are done for the night based off of him saying, all right, I think we're done. I think he's tired. I think he wants to go chill. We've had an amazing night here on the Lichtman Live 2025 membership drive. Thank you again. We are grateful to everybody who is here, everybody who has donated memberships, everybody who has become a member. We will be back on, let me look at the calendar real quick. So we will not be live on Christmas Day, which is Thursday when we're usually live. We will be live on Tuesday, January 30th, where we will do our 2025 year in review, the top 10 moments of 2025 that will make history, and reviewing his predictions for 2025.
Oh, no.
See how many he got right, how many he got wrong. So you don't want to miss that episode. That's going to be an awesome, fun episode. And then on New Year's Day, we will do his 2026 predictions. So next week, I know
Big week.
Big day today here. Big day today here on Lichtman Live.
Thanks everyone who donated or joined. It was way beyond our expectations.
Yeah, seriously.
We're really thrilled. And this
thrilled.
will help keep us going in the new year.
Yeah, that's what it's all for. You know, you make a push at the end of the year to give you momentum into the next. And we're all thankful for you all for that. I also want to give a shout out to some people who work behind the scenes. Savannah, who is our channel manager, who works pretty much every day on the channel. Anthony, CT's finest, who is one of our mods, always working hard as our mod. Mehdi, who also works behind the scenes. Let me see if I'm forgetting anybody.
You better not.
Sometimes I get their real names confused with their, their like Discord handles.
What's my Discord handle?
I don't believe you have a Discord,
Oh.
sir.
Okay.
And also, we've had many people come in throughout the years who have helped us out a lot. So I want to thank, if you've ever been a part of the behind the scenes work, I want to thank you all a lot for your work on this channel. It means a lot to us. All right, Dad, what are your final words to the people?
It's been a great night. It's been an extraordinary year of analysis, insight, and great questions from our audience. Be sure to tune in on January 30th for our year-end wrap-up and New Year's Day for brand new predictions. Thanks again. Good night.
Thank you. Good night. Merry Christmas. Happy Hanukkah. Happy Kwanzaa. Happy Festivus. Good night.